This week on the Virtual Pinball Show, we are setting up a ROM colorization. We are setting up Zen Studio Pinball FX in cabinet mode and adding it to Pinup Popper. We are speaking with Apophis, a member of the VPW team. We are installing Darkest Dungeon from VPX Pinball Wizards and updating Pinup Popper to version 1.5, plus your questions and feedbacks. Your host, Major Frenchie.
Welcome to the Virtual Pinball Show. Major Frenchie here. I'm glad to see you. I'm getting a hang of this. That's show number 4. I'm getting the show on the road right now. A lot in the show this week. We're going to use the file colorization to have your DMD colorized. So it's going to be much nicer when you play VPX. Also, I'm going to show you how to install Pinball FX. Also, how to add the media and the table within Pinup Popper. So we're going to create a new emulator within Pinup Popper. Also, we're going to have an interview with a VPW member, Apophis. So stay tuned for that. We're going to play the table of the week, which is Darkest Dungeons by a new team called VPX Pinball Wizard. You'll see how just amazing that table is. And at the end of the show, we're going to have your comments and feedbacks.
Now we're going to talk about the colorized files. I have information on the website, so if you go to the software section, DMD-EXT, which is Freezy, click on the tutorial section, head to the section for colorization of the ROM. What you need? Well, I have a little button here. You're going to need basically the colorized ROM. If Freezy's already up and running, all you need is this right here. So click here, and that's going to take you to VP Universe. Look at the different titles of the games, and then you basically download them, and I'm going to show you how to install it. Popeye. So we did Popeye Saves the Earth in the other video, and you can see right here there is a colorized ROM. Now, there's not a colorized ROM for every table, folks. It's only a handful, and you're going to download the file. Another way to find out if the table has a colorized ROM is by going to the VPS, the Virtual Pinball Spreadsheet website, and looking down at the files here. If there is an alternate color, it will be here. So here's our download, so we're just going to extract it. So this one is a pack. There actually are different types of colorization. See, this is the pack file we've just downloaded here, popeye.pac. In vpinmain, you're going to create a folder called ALTCOLOR, alt color. If you don't have one, create it. And what you're going to do in here, you need to create a folder with the name of the ROM. And I'm going to rename. Okay, that's the name of the ROM. And then we're going to take the popeye.pac and we're going to drop it in here. There is a tutorial that was created by Rajo Joey. Thank you so much, man, for doing this. And he's got an English and a German set of instructions. Download this file. It's the x86, the DMD extension with Pin2Color and the Serum plugin. This is from Lucky One. He's got a set of instructions here. So this is Freezy. You need to have this in order to move to the next step. So you're going to right click and you're going to extract, and you're going to have the plugins right here. And this is what you need. You're going to head over to vpinmain. And what we're going to do is we're going to copy stuff over. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to move them over to vpinmain, and I'm going to replace the files. And we should be good to go. Let's give that a shot. that's the pack file. So now let's just look at the VNI file, and I'm going to show you the other type of file. When you download the file, this is what you're going to see, the .pal and the .vni. Okay, so we're going to create a new folder. We're going to call it Godzilla, and we're going to take the two files that we've downloaded earlier, and we're just going to launch the table. Be able to find all that information on the website. Go to majorfrenchy.com/software. Look on the DMD EXT section, and then there's the tutorial, and then I have all the explanation on how to do this along with all the links. Also, look in the show notes. I have all the links as well.
Everyone has to leave home. Shoot for Snoopy's doghouse to start a main mode.
It's over the internet.
Internet, eh?
Yes, indeedy.
Snoopy Pinball. Everyone has to leave home. Shoot for Snoopy's doghouse to start a main mode. Oh, brother. It was a dark and stormy night.
Good morning, sunshine. Welcome to another fun-filled day with your favorite pet. Why in the world would I want to eat a mouse? Come in.
I am now recording you playing with your balls. Recording has stopped. Please wait for encoding.
Conversion now done. Enjoy.
Today we are having our first interview with someone that a lot of you know by the name of Apophis. He's also known as Dan. He was involved in the creation of over 108 tables. Dan's going to share his experience in creating tables and where the future of virtual pinball is going to be. Let's introduce Dan. Welcome to the Virtual Pinball Show.
Thanks for having me.
How did you actually get into virtual pinball?
Back in late 2019, I went to go visit a buddy of mine, but down in his basement, he had, I don't know, maybe like 15 pinball machines, and it just blew my mind. We were down there, playing all night long. And I was like, I got to get me one of these. But being an engineer, I wanted to do it the hard way and build one myself. Eventually found my way, I believe, to your YouTube channel, where I learned all about virtual pinball, and on one of your videos you said, why don't you come to our new Discord, we can talk all about virtual pinball. I think I might have been like the 30th member there, and the rest is history. That's the great thing about that server is that we're all learning as we go, and people just convey knowledge.
Actually, are you using multiple platforms for your virtual pinball needs?
Well, I would say I learned probably the most about virtual pinball from a website. It's the MJR, a Pinscape guide, the Bible, you might call it. I printed it out once. It was over 1,000 pages. The one thing I liked about MJR's Pinscape guide is it really went into a lot of details that were nowhere else. And I actually followed that pretty closely when I built my cab. Techniques have evolved a lot since then. Yes. Guys like Porgy. Yep. And you and like Dondi are coming up with more cleaner methods of building the cab and more refined techniques. But still, the Pinscape guide is it's like the #1 place I would recommend people to go at first.
You've actually built your own Pinscape. Is that still working for you?
Yeah, it works great. Other than the few channels that I burnt up because of my own dumb mistakes. I have the 3 boards, the power board, the main board, and the chimes board. And I populated all those with all the electronic components. I think it took me like a week. Yes. It was about 30 or 40 hours of soldering.
Oh, yes.
But it was totally worth it.
That your name comes up a lot in all of the new VPW tables. I did my homework. I've looked up. You've got about 108 tables that you were part of. Did you have to actually learn new techniques? These new tables are so fancy, and they seem very complicated.
Yeah, I mean, the techniques are evolving all the time. I had to learn Visual Basic, and the recent techniques that we've been using on these cool tables involve features that are still in beta, I would say, in VPX. The updated VPX allows for us to use something called a light map. When we're building these tables, we develop a 3D model in Blender, and in Blender you can apply lighting scenarios to the table. We use a tool that was developed by Niwak, who's like just a huge contributor to VPX. So in this Blender toolkit, you can set up the table, you can develop these lighting scenarios, it'll render each lighting scenario separately, and then export those lighting scenarios to VPX. And then from the VB script, you coordinate with the ROM how to invoke those lighting scenarios in real time. I don't know if you know, but VPW has a YouTube channel. You can go on there and you can check out the tutorial videos if you want to learn more about it.
Also, with developing comes new technology and new terminology. Fleep, NFOSI, LUT, hybrid. Can you just briefly describe what these terms are and what they do exactly in a table?
Like in any hobby, there's so much nomenclature and terminology you have to learn. But these techniques that you were just mentioning, a lot of them are named after the inventors of the technique. So Fleep is a guy, NFOSI is a guy. They developed improvements, you might say, to the standard VPX package. So Philippe, he's a master at audio recordings, and he's a perfectionist when it comes to getting them to sound really well within VPX. Develop all these cool sound effects on, I think it was Theater of Magic. The mechanical sound effects are what we've been using a lot lately. And Fozzie, back, I believe, in 2015, 2016 timeframe, he developed these techniques to improve the physics of the standard VPX physics engine. So he's done flipper tricks, flipper trajectory corrections, rubber dampening functions to make the ball bounce better off of the rubbers in a more realistic way. He come up with like a whole set of physics material settings that are pretty standardized now. You don't have to really think about it. You know, wood has a different physics setting than metal, which has a different one from plastics. Rothbauer also has contributed to like flipper tricks and other things. All of these techniques, you know, the Philippe and Fozzie, I've tried to capture in the VPW example table. So the VPW is an example table. You can go out onto VP Universe and download that today if you want. It's got all the major tricks that you might want to implement into a new table. I will say, though, that a lot of those things have been superseded by the new techniques that I mentioned earlier, where we're using light maps to simulate lights in the table a lot more realistically. All these things are continually evolving. Yeah. Blender Toolkit, which is what Niwak has developed, which allows us to make these cool new lighting effects, it's still like in alpha, not even a beta state. He's just experimenting, and we saw it and we're like, this is freaking amazing. We need to start using this now.
What is actually your favorite thing to add to a table?
My specialty is scripting. That's what I typically help with. Done so many Fozzie and Philippe, conversions. I usually, if somebody has a new table and it's in the testing phase, I'll go in and I'll look at it and say, try to help them fix some issues that might be in the script related to those things. I'm working on a project right now where I'm doing the entire Blender side of it also. Niwak has developed a parts library, a pinball parts library that you can go download from GitHub, install it into Blender, and you can just drag and drop like pre-made pinball parts into your model. That are ready to render. So the Blender Toolkit, it does a lot for you. If we were to have to, render all these lighting scenarios and import them manually into VPX, it would take so long that it wouldn't even be worth doing. More satisfying for me is just working with the guys. Yeah. In the process of collaborating with the team and having fun, doing fun and crazy and amazing stuff. That's the fun part for me.
How long would you think it takes on average to create a table from scratch?
It's really hard to answer that question. Of course, every table is different. It's faster now than it used to be because of these tools that we've got. The VPW Lord of the Rings, I think that was an 8-month-long project from start to finish. Of course, we didn't work on it every day, right. But hundreds of hours. Been a couple of VPW originals, and those take even longer. Yeah. Blood Machine, that was over a year and a half, I would say. Die Hard is coming out soon. Oh. And they've been working on that for over 2 years, I think. About a month and a half before Halloween, I was like, we have no Halloween releases in the queue. And so I really like Haunted House.
Yes.
And I contacted Cyber Pez. I'm like, do you want to try to release this by Halloween? And this is like in 6 weeks. And I almost didn't ask him because I knew I was signing us up to a lot of work. Interested him enough where he was like, yeah, let's do this. And he worked on the Blender, and him and Tamat worked on that. Within 5 weeks, we were done. Still, that was like 5-6 weeks of a lot of work. But that's like the short end of the time range of how long it takes.
A lot of people that are coming in are very talented. We have some engineers, we have some graphic designer, and people wanting to help and maybe just get started into developing a table. What would be your recommendation for someone that would like to get started into the creation?
The best way in is to find a table that you like, that you want to add something to, modify it. You don't have to release it. Like reskinning the table is the most common first step that people do to get into the hobby. Anybody can learn how to do this stuff. You just have to put the time in.
Some of the tables that have been released, you actually are the lead on the table. What I would like to talk about is just the team aspect, the roles that different people are doing.
Whenever we have a project that we want to push out the door under the VPW name, we kind of require that there be a team lead. That's not somebody who needs to do everything. It's somebody who basically coordinates work and asks for help, basically is responsible for the project. Everything is volunteer. It's all for fun. If people fancy the project, they'll work on it a lot.
Now, we've seen a lot of changes in VPX in the last couple of weeks, months, years. There's the VR aspect, right? There's the GL aspect. Where do you think VPX is heading?
It's always evolving. Some of the recent improvements have been that VPX has transitioned into a 64-bit build, which has allowed us to utilize more RAM. That was a huge improvement that just happened this last year. The VPX dev team has been consolidating a lot of the VPX. There was a VP VR and then there was VPX, and those were two separate builds essentially. And those have been recombined. In addition to that, there's VPX standalone, they call it. It allows you to play VPX on hardware that's not Windows-based, Linux, iOS, Android. I think in the future, VPX is going to be platform agnostic completely. There's a new VPX.ini file that gets created now that contains all of your settings. So that's just a text file. That allows it to be on any type of machine. I think that's going to be where we're headed in the near term. As far as VR goes, you can do augmented reality now. So you can have your cab, you can look around, you can see your actual room and then have the virtual cab sitting in it. So one thing you might be interested in is, and this is also fairly new, anaglyph projections. So you have your red and cyan glasses on. I have a pair right here. I have my my red and cyan glasses right here.
Me too.
There. So I think in the very near future, and even now, you can play virtual pinball using the anaglyph technique.
Yeah. Freezy actually has been developing for a long time now. It's called VPE. What do you think? Do you think everything's going to be backward compatible and is going to be moved to this, or are they going to be two separate platforms and do their separate things?
I don't really know. So VPE is based on Unity, the game development platform. And I know that there's the goal is to be able to import a VPX table into VPE and with minimal effort get that to work. They're talking about having it such that there's no scripting. VB script is right. So outdated now. VPE, it's going to be you don't even need to script anything to recreate a table. It'll all just be settings, which sounds awesome to me. There's high hopes. There's high hopes for VPE.
Dan, I want to thank you so much for all your involvement, all the work you do, all the admin work you do. Actually, I'm going to speak for VPC chat because you're there and I'm there. You're a tremendous help, and I just want to thank you so much for being with me here today.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that, and I want to thank you for getting me onto this path. And it's just been really fun. It's become a big part of my daily life, and just having so much fun with it. And I want to thank all the guys that I work with all the time because they put in just as much work as I do, and probably more.
Before I let you go, Dan, I have a gift for you. They're like hockey cards. This one is for you, Dan. You're the first guest of the show, and again, I want to thank you for being here with me today.
All right, see ya.
You can visit the VPin Workshop website to learn about their latest releases. Also, if you want to check their merchandise to support them, great way to please a geek for Christmas. I got mine.
Okay, so we're going to download the table. A few things, the requirements, VPX 10.8 beta 5 at least. It says that beta 7 crashes. And here's the team of the folks that worked on this amazing table. Hey, everyone in here, thank you so much. Like, this is table is a piece of art. There's quite a few files here. Here is just the rules of the table, and also the installed instructions are here. There's the wheel, some of the media files, and also the latest one that we want, which is 1.1, which we're going to download on the computer. It will require you to update to Pinup Popper and Player if you have the front end to version 1.5. If you do not use Pinup Popper as a front end, you will need to upgrade Pinup Player 0.5, which is this thread right here. We're going to download this file here. It's the Pinup Popper and Player, so that's not for the Baller installer. So the first thing I'm going to do is, I'm going to back up my database here. Popper's set up. We're going to go to Backup DB and click yes. And it will just make a backup. It's a SQL database. It is located in your Pinup Popper folder right here under Backups, Pop Backups. And I'm going to right click on the file, Properties, Unblock, and I'm going to right click and I'm going to extract that. We're going to copy this here and paste it over, and we're going to replace the destination file, and we're just going to run Pinup menu. It says, notice SQL update is required. Proceed. All right, update of database is complete, and the software now is here, and you can see on the left version 1.5. So let's click on Media Manager, make sure all the stuff is there. Yes, it is. Perfect. We're just going to copy the pop packs. So I'm going to cut this, and we're going to go to Pinup System, Pop Video, and we're going to paste it in here. So here is basically a bat file where it indicates the Pinup Popper, how many screens you have, and so on. So I have a full DMD, so I'm going to click that. Okay, so I've got the new table here. It's Darkest Dungeon, Pop Event 1.1. I'm going to drop it here. And now we're going to be able to run it. This table is just breathtaking. It is beautifully done. The graphics are amazing, the quality of details, and the back glass with the full DMD. It's full of characters, animation. Just wow.
Here's the real table, folks.
A game of chance and companionship. The rush of life. Strong drink. A game of chance and companionship. The rush of life.
You found some medicine. You found a shovel. You found some bandages.
It seems like we're collecting stuff.
You found a vial.
Physics.
A sister of battle, pious and unrelenting.
found a key.
Key, all right.
Captive ball hit.
You'll be laughing still at the end. Behold, righteousness and zealotry. To fight the abyss, one must know it. Wounds to be tended, lessons to be learned.
Now I've got to say, folks, this is VPW top-notch quality like table. And this is from this new team, VPX Pinball Wizards, which a few of the actual existing VPW member contributed to it. Can't wait to see what the future is going to bring, but please keep doing them.
Trouble yourself not with the cost of this crusade.
If you have a question or want to leave some feedback, head to majorfrenchie.com/feedback and fill in the message portion. Now, if I pick your question, I will answer it here on the show, just like I will now. Received a comment from Brack0777 asking, will upgrades affect Pinup Popper? Well, there's always a risk when updating that something goes sideways. What I'm suggesting is always make sure that you back up your database, back up your media, so that way if something goes wrong, you will be able to restore your settings from the backup. Road Surfer 2K11 says, Frenchie's a national treasure to VPN community, and even with over 40 years of high-tech familiarity, I'd still be lost without these step-by-step tutorials. Can't thank you enough, and can't wait to someday build a VPN from scratch. Well, Road Surfer, thank you so much. You've got some strong terms in there. Well, I'll take the tap on the shoulder. I really appreciate that. These kind of comments make my day, and I want to thank you for that. And I'm sure that now we've got a lot of people doing the great tutorials on how to build these cab, and it is certainly a possible thing nowadays. So good luck with your build. Got a question from 3 Big Lev saying that his controls in his cabinet don't work in the new purchase Zen Studio tables, which is the Pinball FX or Pinball M. Now, 3 Big Lev, the reason for this is that you're probably not using a Pinscape compatible device to make the thing work out of the box. In that case, you will need to install a keyboard mapper such as XPadder or Joy2Key. Now, there was certainly a lot of content in this show, and you didn't have to take notes. You can find the content on the blog, majorfrenchie.com/blog, and clicking on today's episode, which is number 4, will give you all the links and the information I talked about in this show. I know your time is very valuable, and I want to thank you for spending it with me here today. Until next time.